Breaking Through News is completing its series on remembering 9/11. Most Americans have vowed to never forget what happened on September 11th, 2001.
First companies getting there and personnel getting there, they thought it would, I'd imagine that they thought, like most of us with that first plane, that it was just a horrific accident. Not having a clue that there was going to be another one. And then I think a key thing for the firefighters is they probably never had a clue that those trade centers would collapse like they did. Because that's part of our training, is knowing building construction and how fire affects it. But I don't think anybody ever thought about a plane full of fuel going into a building and what effects it would have on that building.
Harrisonburg Deputy Fire Chief Stephen Morris was dispatched by the Federal Emergency Management Agency to respond to Ground Zero following the terrorist attack.
They had a lot of different religious pastors, priests and stuff like that would be going down there also, and we had to make sure there was transportation for them, make sure they had plenty of food, and I also helped with the FDNY had a behavioral health unit that was very small at the time, which now has grown dramatically because of what occurred at 9/11. But I would take their doctors and psychologists back and forth to Ground Zero also.
On 9/11, terrorists hijacked 4 planes. They flew 2 of them into the World Trade Center's Twin Towers. Another hijacked plane was flown into the Pentagon, and a 4th plane was also hijacked by terrorists. It crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
Can you see him up there, sir?
That's confirmed. It looks like he's rocking his wings.
Roger.
He's rocking back and forth.
Number 56865, I advise you stay away from that aircraft. Go north as fast as you can.
United 93, have you got information on that yet?
Yeah, he's down.
He's down?
Yes.
When did he land?
He did not land.
Oh, he's down?
Yes,
Bound?
somewhere up northeast of Camp David.
The FEMA firefighters came together to work as a team in one of the most horrific events in American history. 2,977 people were killed at the World Trade Center's Twin Towers during 9/11, including 343 firefighters and 71 law enforcement officers. 184 people were killed at the Pentagon during the terrorist attack, and 40 people were killed when a hijacked plane crashed in Pennsylvania. The FEMA team bonded to accomplish their duty, and amid destruction, were able to do their part in cleaning up Ground Zero.
It was a group of different people from the state. There was one from Henrico Fire and Rescue, one from Hampton Fire and Rescue, one from Suffolk Fire and Rescue, and one from Danville Fire. That I went with, and they, we all were part of, had some type of belonging to the International Association of Firefighters. Is how we, and we all kind of knew each other from that, but we spent a week together, so we got to know each other. Matter of fact, one of the gentlemen we went up with, Jason, he is now the fire chief in the city of Hampton. So, just those connections you have that you just don't forget.
The deputy chief described the FEMA teams as critical stress teams.
FEMA's the one that made the request. They made a request for a management team to come up and ensure that all these critical stress teams had the resources they needed, and they actually put out the request to these the critical stress teams. We had teams from New Orleans, Los Angeles, Boston, Miami, were all requested by FEMA to come up, and of course coordinated through FEMA and what was going on at Ground Zero. So we didn't as we would say, self-dispatched. We didn't self-dispatch. We were requested through a federal agency to provide this service.
Morris admits he was shocked how welcoming the New Yorkers were during 9/11.
I was a little surprised. I felt, I guess, going up, I thought, well, they're going to be kind of standoffish, and it was actually my first time ever going to New York. a bad way to get there. But they, sometimes you always hear about New York, and maybe sometimes a little snobby or whatever. We were greeted with open arms. Everywhere we went, people were thanking us. Matter of fact, multiple days, to get out of the work environment, I'd go out on the street and find somewhere to get lunch or something. And multiple days, people offered or did pay for my lunch without asking, and they would just, it was one of those that I truly felt like, we were all in it together. It didn't matter whether you were, black, white, Hispanic. It didn't matter whether you was Republican, Democrat. It didn't matter. We were all one at that point. I wish we could get back to that.
Elaine Rackley for Breaking Through News.